Greetings, everyone. As Tom mentioned, my name is Jason Napoli. I am the Director of Employer Relations and Career Coaching in what we call the Barry Career Institute at Cornell College. It's our centralized career office on campus. I'm just going to share my screen here real fast and go over some information that Tom asked me to review regarding getting connected with the local college career centers and just some other trends that we're seeing with internship seekers. So thumbs up, are we seeing this properly? All right. So there are a couple ways to connect with the different career centers in the ICR region. We all play well together. We're all the career centers are good friends and pals, and we've collaborated a fair amount. So when I mention the local career centers, I'm referring to Cornell, Mount Mercy, Iowa, and Kirkwood. About 10 or 12 years ago, actually maybe even more than that, 12, 15 years ago, some of these career centers got together and created a consortium called the Higher Education Connection. And this was in partnership with our academic development groups. Iowa Works was involved in this as well. And what we were aiming to do is more or less what we're doing right now, is just educating local employers about how best to work with our offices and each other and getting access to intern and early career talent. Over the past couple of years, we have put on a couple virtual career fairs with our partner institutions in the HEC. And quite honestly, I know there's definitely an employer or two that attended those events, and they weren't very successful, to be very honest. And that was a trend we are starting to see, is that the students were not, really going towards that virtual model. And some of that could have been online fatigue. It could have been timing, it could have been a variety of things. But the positive out of it was that, it got these five career centers working together and focused on doing more bigger and better programs. So that resulted in a relatively, what hopes to be a large event this June, called Young Professionals Wanted, Leveraging Your Pipeline. Now, HEC has, somewhat fallen under the umbrella of the Cedar Rapids Metro Economic Alliance. So they're taking the lead on this event, their staff. As of now, you do need to be an EA member to attend. But some of the planning and development is still going on with that. But this is going to be kind of a little mini conference about, how best to work with our offices, the career offices. We're going to have some student panels, sharing about what they're looking for in engagement with your talent acquisition teams. And, it should be, really purposeful for everyone, not only to connect with your HR and recruiting colleagues, but again, also the staffs at our five schools. Another important thing, and this is a really big bonus for the region, all five of these schools are on the Handshake career management system, which is a big advantage. It really, the whole point of Handshake, I'm sure most of the recruiters on this call are aware of Handshake, but it kind of levels the playing field. If only one or two of our schools were on Handshake, those students would have a far bigger advantage to gaining access to employers, not only in the local area, but across the country and the world. So Handshake has been a huge bonus for all the career centers in the local area and across the country. It is free for employers. It's a bit of a pretty penny for all of us to invest in it, but we're seeing, amazing results and access to opportunities. So if you're not on Handshake yet, please, create an account and get those opportunities posted with these five schools. Another consortium that Cornell is involved in all of the private college career centers in Iowa, is an organization called Connect Iowa. This has been recently rebranded and it was formerly called ICORN, the Iowa College Recruiting Network. So this is another collaborative effort between the college career centers, from river to river. And we often host what we call these interview days. So these are, focused events that their students are able to apply for opportunities, 15, 20 days before an event, and then all the interviews happen on one specific day. They have happened in person at one of our campuses, but the past couple of years we have gone virtual as well. And employers can also get what we call a resume drop. So there's a very specific, finance accounting event. We did an engineering event with the 6 of our schools that actually have accredited engineering programs, Cornell College being one of them. Actuarial science, there's a healthcare event. We've had nonprofit events. And just a general spring event as well. If you want to learn more about Connect Iowa, we actually do have a employee that works for the organization. Her name is Valerie Larson. Feel free to contact Valerie there, and I'm sure she'll be happy to get you on the mailing list and make you aware of some of the other events that we have going on. I get the fortunate opportunity, since I was asked to present today, just share a little bit more about partnering specifically with Cornell College. We certainly do a lot of the traditional internship and early career recruiting. I know, many of the companies that are on the call today are active on our handshake system. But if there's ever interest to come to campus, or even try and get in a classroom, please get in touch, and we'd love to host any one of you. One of the unique ways to partner with Cornell, and one of the ways we get a lot of support from our faculty, especially our business faculty, are bringing real live case studies into the classroom. So as many of you know, but I'll explain it real fast, Cornell is on a very unique one course at a time academic system. So our students take a class for 3.5 weeks. We take an exam, students have a 4-day weekend, and we repeat that 8 times throughout the year. So you think about a traditional semester plan. A traditional semester typically has 16 weeks plus a final exam week. The Cornell block, as we call it, consists of 17 days plus an exam day. So students are essentially getting a full week's worth of content every single day. It's an incredible system. It creates some really important career competencies in our students. I think a lot of the employers, and really any professional on this call today, can say that time management skills are really important for early career employees or even experienced employees. And students get that automatically through studying one course at a time. They're very fast learners as well. Another program that we run is our career tour program. So we visit different companies all over the country. Actually run these programs across the country, but we do it in the local area as well. Tom and his team were very generous to host our group just last week. We've been to IDT as well in past years, and a lot of other fantastic partners in the area. So if you ever want a group of students on site to learn a bit about your brand and your employment opportunities, let me know. So I mentioned that students were not really jumping at the virtual programming, virtual career fairs over the past year or two. But we were able to bring back our in-person career expo this past February. And that was an astounding success. We had over 25% of our student population attended the career expo, which we were really excited about. We even got some comments that some of the employers talked to more students at our career fair than they did at the University of Iowa or Iowa State, which made us really happy to hear. So we will be running, full in-person is back in action. That's what the students want. And that's what we're going to commit to. Another component about partnering with Cornell is I mentioned we have these blocks, and we are able to, have students do full-time internships during the school year. So if anybody here, like myself, studied on a traditional semester system, if you had an internship during the school year, you were maybe able to intern 12, 15 hours a week. A Cornell student can actually fully immerse themselves in the workplace full-time for that block, or even they can string 2 or 3 blocks together during the school year. So it really creates some unique opportunities, and our employers really love that. Cornell has a very diverse student population in many respects. One number in particular is that our student population is 24% domestic students of color. We also have a fair amount of geographic diversity. Only about 20% of our students come from the state of Iowa. And, talking to this group, that may not sound like a positive, but these students are undoubtedly willing to stay. I mean, it's ironic. A lot of the students from California, they have no interest in going back to California. They like the seasons, they like the people, they like, the surroundings here, and they'll stay. But the best way to get them to stay is through internships. So, hitting those students, because my students from out of state who are going to be graduating in 3 weeks, if they've never had an internship here, they're headed home. But if they have, had some sort of professional experiential learning opportunity here in the region, they are willing to stay. And it's really great to see a lot of them doing that. Internships. So I don't think there's any nonprofit partners on this call, but Cornell is in a unique opportunity where we can help fund unpaid internships with nonprofit organizations. So we can essentially pay for a student's living expenses over the summer for up to $3,500. We have a very generous endowment in our office where each year we're able to distribute about $200,000 or $300,000 to our student population to help cover costs for these unpaid experiences. For-profit partners, obviously, I think everyone here, the recruiters I know on this call and talent acquisition professionals on this call, are definitely paying your interns. But that's a big deal these days is, students not being paid for their internships. And I'm going to get to that a little bit more about how that can affect diversity in your workplace. But just covering some general internship trends. As mentioned, students want in-person experiences. Hybrid will do. But they really want the in-person experiences. And what we've seen with some of our partners who simply haven't gone back to the workplace, a lot of people have just shut down. They don't have an office. In-person is no longer possible. But what we've been able to do with some of our alumni partners, and a couple of these are like in Washington, D.C., for example, is that the students can still go out there for a week or two. And they can get set up at a co-working space, but be able to meet their colleagues, perhaps network in the field or the industry that they're in. And that makes a huge difference. So even if you have an 8 to 10 week experience, getting a student on site for a week or so can really, change their opinion about whether or not they would take that type of opportunity. Like I said, they want to be in person. But they also want more than just a work experience as well. And I know, there's a lot of really good programs, through Ignite ICR, and some of that programming is fantastic from a regional level, but inside the organization, students would love to see more specific training and development, built-in networking opportunities, access to senior leadership is always a highlight. And, certainly that's something that we would encourage all the internship providers to do. There's a big push out there. Payyourinterns.org is really picking up a lot of steam. And this was started by 2 first-generation students of color who realize that, people from a lot of marginalized communities are not able to get internship experience if it's unpaid. So you're going to, eliminate a whole group of students, in many respects, if you're not able to pay your interns, and that will, can greatly affect, DEI goals and initiatives through the host organization. Virtual recruiting is the same way. As I mentioned, we have had a hard time getting students to attend virtual recruiting events, and they don't want virtual, work. But virtual recruiting, and this is just something I researched from NACE, our national trade association, is that a lot of marginalized communities have difficulty accessing in-person recruiting opportunities. So virtual recruiting can definitely level that playing field. But again, even with all the funding that our office is able to distribute, and we're so proud and so excited to be able to do that, we're simply compensating and reimbursing for expenses. Okay. Some of these students, we can give them $5,000 to go live in New York City for the summer. That still doesn't change the fact that they're not earning over the summer. Okay. That might mean, sure, they can have this extraordinary opportunity and they can live, pretty much anywhere in the world for a summer and get that experience, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have money to come back to school next year. So, paying those interns is so important. We're trying to get better where, of course, we're excited to distribute this funding, but working with some of the partners on actually paying the students is a really big deal. And, and it's also something that, the National Association of Colleges and Employers, and if anybody's not a member of NACE, it's an incredible national organization. It serves both the college career centers and the early career hiring companies as well. So, check them out. They have some amazing resources on their website. So that's pretty much all I have for everyone today. I'm happy to take any questions and, hang around afterwards. And my contact information was there, Napoli at cornellcollege.edu. And I'll turn it back over if nobody has any questions.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate that, and appreciate all that insight as well. Just so you guys are aware, I know that above and beyond Cornell, I believe JPEC offers some compensation and some internship support as well. So there are programs there. And then the state of Iowa, through the Iowa Economic Development Authority, also has some programs. So if you're interested or you're having challenges finding monies to support these interns, but you want them and you want to pay them, let us know, reach out to us, and we'll explore the different resources that are available to help subsidize that. So along those lines, just another plug for Ignite ICR. My colleague Liz E. Hubing at icadgroup.com is the resource there. If you're interested, if you're going to host interns, even if it's one or two, get connected to these events that they're putting together. Just another way to expose them to all the great things that are going on in the region. And if they're anything like me, when you're in college here, you probably don't make it too far off of campus. So there's a whole world that they don't even realize exists that we have an opportunity to expose them to while they're in town.